The Green Bay Packers have to recover from a serious beatdown as they welcome the Minnesota Vikings to Green Bay. Welcome into the Sporting News Studios for Hot Reads, your weekly look at the NFL with Hall of Fame quarterback Troy Aikman. My name is Tom Vandervoort, and Troy, I know you're going to Green Bay this week, and clearly it seems like they've got some problems on the offensive line, and I know the Giants' defensive line is a very special group. Do the Vikings present the same kind of problem for Green Bay, and how do they adjust to make sure that Aaron Rodgers has a chance to do something here?
Well, I'm kind of anxious to see, what, if anything, Green Bay will do differently. I don't know if there'll be any, lineup changes. If you remember, right tackle Brian Bulaga went down a couple of weeks ago, and so they moved left guard TJ Lang to the right tackle position and then filled in there at left guard with Evan Dietrich Smith. So by losing one player, you affected two positions. And you're right, the New York Giants are a special group. If this was a year ago, you'd say, yeah, they're facing, as dominant, if not a more dominant pass rush in the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings have not gotten after the passer as well as they did a year ago. Last year, they led the league in sacks. This year, they're about middle of the pack. And the fact that they're playing in Green Bay. Certainly we all know that Minnesota is much tougher. That pass rush is much more dominant, there in Minnesota. But I think one of the real keys for Green Bay is they've got to win at the receiver position. There's some things that these defenses are doing, and they're not winning often enough, I don't think, down the middle of the field, in addition to some of the pass protection issues.
Do you foresee this as like an ongoing problem? I mean, is this an Achilles heel for them?
Well, it's it's an offense that obviously we expect a lot from based on what happened last year. And I know what defenses are doing this year within the coverage. A lot of the same things they tried to do last year that just simply didn't work. Now, Green Bay obviously has had a number of injuries. Greg Jennings, who's expected back this week, I think will really help them. He's played all but, he's missed all but about 3 games. Jordy Nelson has missed a little bit of time. They've had injuries at some other positions. Certainly the running back position has affected them. They, in my opinion, outside of the Houston Texans game, they have really not played to the level that they're capable of playing. Not to say that they haven't had some really good games, but just not to the level that we expect. And I don't think that Aaron Rodgers has been as comfortable really at any time this year as he was last season. So I think it's a collective of a lot of things, whether it's the protection, whether it's receivers based on injury or winning one-on-one routes, or Aaron Rodgers having the confidence in some of the players that are out there on the field with him.
Gotcha. Now, from the Vikings side of the ball, obviously they started the year off well. Great win a couple weeks ago against the Lions, then a tough loss to the Bears. How would you look at their playoff chances right now? I know they have a very tough schedule to end the season, but they are in the thick of it at 6-5.
Well, they're in the thick of it. They've got to improve dramatically, if, in my opinion, if they're going to be able to make it to the playoffs. Defensively, they're doing some good things. Like I said, they're not getting after the passer like they did a year ago, but they're doing some other things, pretty well. And they're playing well enough on that side of the ball to win games. I think offensively, clearly this is an offense that is built around Adrian Peterson. They run the ball extremely well. He's in the middle of a hot streak right now. I think 5 consecutive games of 100 yards rushing. They've got to get more out of their passing game. I mean, when you can run the ball as well as the Vikings do, you should then be able to create more big plays down the field off of the play action. Yet that hasn't happened for whatever reason. Christian Ponder, who's completing over 60% of his passes, he has just a little over 6 yards per pass attempt, and that's not nearly good enough. And what that illustrates, for those that don't know, is they're not getting the ball down the field, and that should change. Now, without Percy Harvins, that's obviously a real deep threat for them and a big play guy for them. That has impacted them, but they've got to get more out of their passing game if they're going to go and try to make a run into the playoffs.